Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. Welcome back from thedailymail.com. Alabama passes bill to criminalize hormone treatment, puberty blockers, and gender change surgery for minors. That big key word there is minors. And force teachers to disclose parents of their child claims to be trans. And a lot of people are pissed. Are you kidding me? Seriously? For minors? That's insane. That is insane. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of this thing, I want people to consider something. I looked it up. In the state of Alabama, it is the same in New York State where I live, of upstate New York, way from New York City. It is 21 years old to consume or purchase alcohol, and is 21 years old to consume or purchase tobacco products, i.e. cigarettes and other things. You got to be kidding me, right? So let's see if I get this right now. I'm a 14-year-old male. 13 years old even. And that's a tough age to be, because all kinds of hormonal stuff going on, puberty's kicking in. It's very confusing. I mean, teenagers are almost insane, especially the girls with the hormones that are changing, and they're tough to deal with. And you get one that says, I want to be a girl. And these people are saying it's okay to take very strong drugs, i.e. hormones, puberty blockers, and gender-changing surgeries, which will alter their bodies in some cases forever, and it's irreversible. The measure would also force teachers to tell parents if a minor's perception of his or her gender or sex is inconsistent with the minor's sex. Obviously, they're going through an emotional time, just going through puberty, let alone the other. And what they've been exposed to in school, their minds are very malleable. But here's the thing. Talk about hypocrites. Where are these people screaming when the law was changed in Alabama to 21 to buy a beer, for Christ's sake? And 21 to have a cigarette or purchase one. So let me see if I get this right now. I'm 13 years old, and I can have all these treatments done. Puberty blockers, hormone treatments, surgery, God knows what, don't even want to discuss it, to go from male to female. But I have to wait 8 years to have a beer? Does that make any sense to you at all? It's nuts. On Thursday, the House of Representatives voted 66 to 28 in favor of legislation that would make it a felony, punishable up to 10 years, for a doctor to prescribe puberty blockers or hormones or perform surgery to aid in the gender transition of someone under the age of 19. But you got to be 21 to have a beer or smoke a cigarette. Because when you're younger, you don't have the life experience. Your brain, your frontal cortex isn't fully developed. Everybody knows that. It's just a matter of science. These people say follow the science. Let's follow it. The bill now goes to Republican Governor Kay Ivey for her signature, although she has not yet said she would greenlight the measure. Alabama is just the latest red state to promote legislation aimed at curbing gender-affirming health care for trans youth, following the lead of other states such as Florida and Texas, which have considered similar measures in recent weeks. Now, here's Representative Neil Rafferty, the only openly gay member of the Alabama legislature. I could care less if he's gay. This has nothing to do with being gay or lesbian, period, or bisexual at all. This moron knows that. It's about power and control. And he is part of the Alabama legislature. Let him submit legislation that teenagers can drink and smoke. If they can make decisions that alter them permanently forever, having a beer is not going to change your life for the next 50 years, or even having a couple cigarettes for that matter. Why isn't he pounding about that? Because this isn't about that. This is about control over minor children control above their parents. Make no mistake. Are some children in that age group having difficulties mentally in development and just their sexual nature in general? Yeah, we all did, including me. All of us were going through puberty. It's a tough road to hoe, but everybody has to go through it. But now they want to do hormones and blockers. All surgery that alters their bodies forever is okay, but you can't have a can of Bud. What a hypocrite. Transgender people belong. Of course they do. That's never been the issue. Never been the issue. Neil Rafter, the only gay member of the Alabama legislature, did not hold back as lawmakers. This is wrong. Y'all sit there and campaign on family being the foundation of our nation, and what this bill is doing is totally undermining. No, it's not. You say your family goes along with it because they're afraid to say no, actually, if you want to know the truth of it. And this 13-year-old boy, and he is a boy, pitches a fit, and the parents go along with it. Just because the parents say okay doesn't mean you can start hacking off body parts. What's that mental disease called? I think it's called alien limb theory. Alien limb theory. That means you feel one of your limbs isn't yours and it's somebody else's and it's foreign. And you want to have it hacked off. Granted, it's a very tiny, tiny, tiny percent of the population, but so is trans. You going to advocate for that too? They're minors. It is not outrageous to wait until you're 19, when you're old enough, at least legally, to make some determination on your future and your body. It's insane that they would be against this. It's totally undermining family rights, health rights, and access to health care. What health care do you have access to? Health care is not access to puberty blockers. Health care is not about hormone treatment or altering surgery to change sex. That's ridiculous. Meanwhile, Alan Troy of Troy, a sponsor of the House version of the bill, argued on Thursday that trans children are not old enough to make decisions about gender-affirming medication. That's right. Because they're not old enough to have a beer or a cigarette. They're not old enough to make these decisions. It's insane. The brains are not developed to make these decisions long-term on what these medication surgeries do to their body. That's true. And that's the same argument they use for these morons that made it 21 for beer and cigarettes. They're not old enough and mature enough to make these decisions, but you can alter your body forever and do all kinds of damage with puberty blockers and hormones. That's okay. Jeff Walker, father to a 15-year-old trans daughter, pleaded with Governor Ivey, who has not yet indicated whether she will sign. She doesn't have to sign this. She can veto. What you're doing is hurting Alabama families with these bills. That's bullshit. 15 years old. You're not old enough to make these decisions. Society has said this for years. This is not 1810, where the 14-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl is married off and starts having children. Those days are long gone. And rightfully so, I might add. But you can approve this, and you say absolutely nothing about any other ages for driving, drinking, alcohol, smoking cigarettes, and there's a whole litany of stuff that every state has. And yet you say nothing about any of those. This is what you say. Crickets. Virtue signaling. This is about control. I'll go through the rest of the article here. I'm not going to read it all. Prohibit classroom instruction in sexual orientation and gender identity. Today's vote in Alabama will only serve to harm kids. That's ridiculous. Jen Psaki, who represents the President of the United States, told reporters Thursday the U.S. Department of Justice has warned states such laws and policies may violate the Constitution and federal law. This will only serve to harm kids. That's bullshit. You're not old enough to make these decisions. Puberty and teenage years are incredibly difficult for everyone. The topic of transgender and LGBTQ identity has become one of the GOP's wedge issues aimed at securing votes because they are popular with the party's base. No, they're popular with responsible parents. And they go on about Florida, and they showed DeSantis with his Protect Children bill. They call it the Parental Rights in Education bill. Don't say gay. It's just ridiculous. That has nothing to do with gay people. This has nothing to do with gay or lesbians. And I'll breeze through like the rest. Oh, God. This is our president talking. Our LGBTQI plus youth deserve to be affirmed and accepted just as they are. My administration will continue to fight for dignity and opportunity for every student and family, and in Florida and around the world. That's insane. This has nothing to do with the LGBTQ issue. Nothing. You can't drive a car. You can't smoke a cigarette. You can't drink a beer, and the list is endless. But for some reason, none of that rationale or common sense applies to something that will alter a minor forever. You're 13, 14 years old. You're going to live another 60, 70 years and pay for this mistake. My God, my God. This is insane. Of course, gender change surgery for minors is ridiculous. They're not old enough to make that decision. Their frontal cortex and their life experience isn't enough yet. I don't think they understand the repercussions. People are impulsive to begin with. I'm 65 and I am. It's 50 times worse when you're younger in that age. The new thing, the thing you're pushing by your peers and your friends and people in your school to do. When you're confused enough already, it's just sad and ridiculous. You turn 18 years old, in this case 19, and you want to do all these things? Well, as long as you pay for it, I guess. It's your body. That's not the point. They're too young to make that decision. This is not about LGBTQ rights. Never has been. It's about taking over school districts, taking over what your children learn and just what they think about society and themselves. It's parents' fault for the last 2 or 3, 4 decades. We put the responsibility on the school districts because you're either too busy working or just too busy as parents. Well, now comes the price to pay, and it's a big one. I'm not against trans people. Several used to come into my store when I had a convenience store in upstate New York. And in fact, when I used to we talked about trans things when I was a city councilman in the early 2000s before it was a big deal. And I got called all kinds of names. And both the trans women that came into my store said, John, you're not like that. You're not saying what you are. Do I want to go down and straighten them out in the next council meetings? The council meetings were televised all over the county. I said, no, that's fine. They're just asses. They don't know any better. This isn't about rights of LGBTQ people. This is about power and control. It's crazy. Just crazy that minors can do this, but you can't have a freaking beer. Think about that for a minute. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.